Hello, my name is Tom, and I got the suggestion to make something about pornographic stuff. Porn. Porn is a topic that is destroying man and woman's sex drive. The reason for that is a simple reason, because people disconnect when they're watching on a screen. And they cannot feel their emotions and body because they're so fixated on the screen. Because intimacy and sexuality is given and taking. And with masturbating porn, you lose this. Because there's nobody there if you turn off the monitor. That's only you. And because sexuality is some interaction, physical, emotional and energetic connection with a woman, not with a screen. So people get more and more obsessed with masturbating on the screen, and of course addicted, and become more polite and in some way lazy don't go after a woman anymore or a man. Relationships, intimate connections, because of the porn comfort zone. Because the hope is that you eventually have some interaction with this woman on the screen or this porn. And the delusion how a woman have to be, and a 10 out of 10, she has to be perfect, because one has to fulfill the illusions of porn, and they think this is reality. And people become a standard that is unachievable for a woman, or in case if women masturbating on porn for men. And there's only disappointment in the end. And after ejaculating, there's nobody there. Only you. When you turn off the screen. That means that you're always the observer of sexuality from the outside. Because you're always watching others to fuck, lick, whatever. And the worst thing what can happen is that you have some internal beliefs that women don't want to fuck with me. Because this woman on the screen, in the porn, and she get fucked from some other guy, is looking at you, and well, subconscious, you can maybe have some internal beliefs that woman or man don't find me attractive. Because, the woman on the screen can project unconsciously towards you. This guy can fuck me, but you're not. Because you're not there with me. Because you're not a real man. You will not get any pussy at all. So people more and more talk themselves into, I can do it myself. I don't need a woman. And all these games what women play with men who want to play and fuck in real life, not on a screen, masturbating. The audience of their own sexuality. An observer, not even a side character. And men become offended of women, taking everything personally, because these women are rejecting you on the screen. This is what women do with men who are not men. Nice guys, people pleaser, loser. So men disconnect from their own sexuality, masculinity, feelings and emotions, reality, living in a dream world, because there nobody can hurt you. Because maybe of shame from the past, like I had from my mother. You don't touch girls down there, you can hurt them. And you have to understand that you get more and more angry, frustrated, resignation, when you don't get that's what you want, a connection with women, or in this or other case, the intimacy, sexuality, closeness. Humans need physical touch. And this is what then people missing. And they starving to death, so to speak. And with this frustration and anger, resentment, you get re-addicted to porn. And eventually then you give up. And every time again this endless cycle. And slowly you build up this hate against the other sex and maybe your own sex. And you're going always back to porn. Because you're frustrated, you're disappointed from the other sex. And this self-hate and self-rejection get extreme, as more and more you get into porns from all sorts of types. your sex drive get distorted. And maybe then you think you're a rapist or something like that because women don't like me. Because you're watching BDSM porn or something like that, or SM porn. And you fell for this feminist movement, all men are rapists or potential rapists. A woman need a man like a fish a bicycle. See, women don't like men. Yeah, and you are in this endless self-fulfilling prophecy. Look, I'm not meant to be with women. When you're together with women, you always get blamed and shamed. All sorts of nice guy beliefs, you know. With the Egypt, they have a different word about it. Eunuchs. But then these guys, they got cut off their channels. For real. Because when you are a man, watch porn and masturbate on porn, you easily seductive with all this shit. And I guess you are unsure of your masculinity, because otherwise you would have women in your life and fuck. And of course have intimacy and closeness. No wonder why people called social robots, because they don't go in some interaction with other people or communication with other people anymore, and they become hermits. There can become up a lot of beliefs when you contemplate with that. And shame, frustration, maybe numbness become because of all this disconnection from the screen. When you're then in front of a woman, because she should fulfill the expectations, what man or woman saw on the screen. And then for me there was some belief what I had, you cannot trust a person who's bleeding one time in the month and don't die. Maybe you can understand how insane this all porn shit can become, you know. Okay, you can run decades in the wrong direction. And people who are unconscious, yeah, well, they blame and shame other people for that. It's the woman's fault, it's the man's fault, the society, yeah, well. And you can blame even porn for that, but porn has nothing to do with that. That's all the people himself. And yes, of course, you get seduced with or seduced with porn. But in the end, all the people are responsible for all that. I mean, you know, some people has it worse. You know, they wake up on the deathbed on the last breath. I should be done it differently. Yeah, well, and then it's game over. It's not a computer game. And it ends when it ends, you know. And there's no restart. No. Continue. Like from computer games, console games, PC games. And so with all this shit, you're creating more and more beliefs that's holding you back or distancing you from the other opposite sex. And it's a brutal downward spiral, because it is easy access to porn on the internet to any time, wherever you want, you know. So you don't have to interact with the other opposite sex. There's no flirting, banter, dirty talk, no interaction with women or with men. There's no arguing with each other. There's no setting boundaries or saying no touching, no kissing. Because with porn you can imagine all sorts of things, you know, from BDSM, normal sex, hardcore fucking, SM, all sorts of fetish and kinks, and there are no rules or boundaries. Yeah, even the disgusting stuff with children and animals too, you know. Internet is full of shit, you know. And if you then together with a woman, you're projecting all this sexual experience on the screen onto a woman, and she cannot hold up to that, and even you not too. And of course there's anxiety, because in the porn industry there are people who like bodybuilders or athletes or like actors or musicians who know their craft. So you're competing always against pros. They know what they do. And people are then disappointed because they don't hold up some delusional expectations for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, because these porn actors learned to not ejaculate, or when the director says it. And for a normal person is this like the death sentence, always comparing to porn stars. But it is even a social problem, because there's all the suppression in the outside world, with sexuality and all these movements what's around. Even red pill feminists all blame the opposite sex. It's a gender war. There's so much going on. Or no fab. People shame and blame each other for ejaculating or fapping, like they call it. You can say it's another self-hate mechanism. I mean, I was in this stuff too, in this nofap, but I didn't do it long, because this is not what I wanted. The only thing is that what people do with each other is shaming and blaming them for sexuality. I can understand it, because it's all about competition, like in the nature, the strongest or smartest wins, Yeah, I can laugh about it, but because it's such insane what people do to themselves if they hate themselves, if they always want to have some pain with intimacy and sexuality. Even a girl said to me when I was young, I guess 15, then she said, or no, I was 16, she said that I'm a loser because I didn't want to fuck her. Even she was at home with me and I was not interested in her. And this was only 3 years into porn, from 13 to 16. And you can imagine how much damage there is with 36, when I had first time sex with a prostitute. The problem is the toxic shame of the society when it comes to sexuality. I mean, animals don't have that problem. Not really. But I guess it starts from good education. And you cannot be trusted on the government or the schools to teach their own children what's about sexuality and intimacy. If not the parents teach their children about sexuality, well, other people will do it, or the internet, or religion, or porn in this case. Worse shit can happen to the children. So what has this to do with porn? Yeah, well, if you're not educated, you slipping into this porn industry because you want to know everything about it. But porn is not the reality itself. It's only a quick fix, this porn shit, so to speak. People get stuck in it. In the end, you're alone with yourself then, and you're masturbating on porn. So maybe it's much better to buy a flashlight, or for women a dildo, so you're not distracted from a screen. And of course you can practice. There's a lot of practice around this ejaculation control, semen retention, sexual kung fu, whatever you want to call it. There's a lot of techniques, and at least you do something for yourself then. But even this can be a rabbit hole of addiction, because yes, you have a flashlight at home, why you should go out and meet women? Yeah, it's another trap. That's the same for women too, with dildos and sex toys. And it can be used to avoid personal connections with the opposite sex. So then, no interest to interact with women, be social, growing, and especially in this case, men always holding themselves back, stepping back and avoiding. Another thing is then drinking or smoking to be cool. And so there's nothing going on with women. This fear of rejection. So you rejecting yourself in the end. And you blame yourself and shame yourself because you think it should be different. But people don't understand this long time that they're sitting in front of the screens, tens of years. And this is like a field road. First you stepping one step, first you walking through this through this field, and with every time you're going through this field, you're creating your own path, and maybe it's already a road, and you take this road through the fields around women, This avoidance strategy, self-abandonment, self-hate, rejection game what people play with themselves, included with all sorts of destructive beliefs. That they are totally illusion, these beliefs. But you believe it, or people believe it, And this becomes then the reality. Like I said, the quick fix. An endless downward spiral of beliefs and destructive habits. Because you can always go back to some porn and masturbate on the screen. And in some way it's the same like smartphone addiction or social media addiction, scrolling, the next porn. Yeah, people know how this works, And you're creating your own destiny alone with yourself. And think that it's the other people's fault, the opposite sex, because they're not attractive anymore. Yeah. Because you're, like I said, again, the easy, quick fix that brings you into your own hell of isolation. This is some serious issue for men, because you condition yourself over and over and over again to do it on the screen and do it with yourself, and of course alone. Because intimacy, sexuality is nothing what's in the nature alone, Sometimes I make a little bit fun to ease it a little bit, but it's brutal, when I say no wonder it's called cancel culture. Because the genetic code of all sorts of people who survived the past, all sorts of wars, they got cancelled out. The next generation, and it started in some 70s or 60s when the TV was introduced. And if this does not scare you, then what else? And this is not something that can be undone overnight, because people are tens of years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years into this. And it can be happen that you're scared of women, because when you're in front of a woman, you have all this expectation and neediness, of course, that comes from the rejection from yourself, the self-hate, your own abandonment, masculinity or femininity, abandonment. And people don't like needy people, or people pleaser, nice guys, because sex is something what is animalistic and raw. So you don't need a nice guy in it. But people become nice guy and people pleaser because they're avoiding the human interactions, The tension and playing and flirting and seduction. Porn gives you the end result and gives you an delusion what's expected from you, and this can block people, even women. But for men it's more dangerous, because if you get not an erection, then you know that you're deep in shit. So in this case, women can have it easier, because they can use lubricant, and yeah. And from this, there is no easy way out, no pill or something like that. When you, as a man, when you're stuck in this porn loop, downward spiral, and going back to porn instead of meeting women. Because then you're rejecting intimacy and sexuality with women again, to avoid some embarrassing moments, and that can keep hold men back too, And then you're frustrated and go back to your porn. So you always hanging out on the screen, and men distancing themselves from women. They don't feel good enough anymore. And this is a feeling, and this is not a mindset, to be clear. And you cannot talk yourself into it becoming an erection when you're in front of a woman and want to fuck her, if you cannot be horny because of this tens of years porn abuse in front of a screen with all these unfulfilled expectations what you're projecting on, or what people project on women. And people don't understand there is some calibration what men do always to women, like animals. They wait until they can fuck, in some way. But between the times they play. And this is what porn totally misses, the part before. With all this frustration and resentment what then comes up for men towards women with this porn addiction. Until they deny it or reject it. Oh, I don't need a woman. Women are whores or bitches. I don't need to buy a farm or a cow and when I want to have milk. And you create all sorts of beliefs that hold you in place to sit in front of the screen, Your own comfort zone of isolation in hell. Because it's hell. When you got seduced into being alone. And you have to let go of all these beliefs. And behavior patterns. The hard part in this case. To get out of this mess. For me especially, it was like I had my first time sex with 36. With a prostitute. And it was awful. I couldn't feel anything. It was like totally numbness. Because I was not used to it. To have something with a woman. And he didn't really want to, my dick. And there's a lot of scarcity. Because I got always blamed and shamed in my childhood. Be curious about girls. And when you get blamed and shamed for it, well, I was searching then for other options. And porn is then the trap. And it creates all sorts of society problems too, There we have then this toxic feminist movement, or MGTOW, or Red Pill. So then you have this agenda war. Man against woman, woman against man, so yeah. So what is then the next result, People then hate themselves and they want to be something else. Yeah, well, you can make a surgery, then the insanity is complete. Or other thing could be then that you start to be gay. So I must be gay because I'm not interested in women. Because if you started with 12, 13, you cannot remember anymore why you reject girls. Because it was fun to masturbate on porn, on adults, Yeah, this is the insanity of this. I can only laugh because when you're looking through this stuff, it's like, holy shit. And nobody knows this before. Because it was a new industry in the 80s, 70s, 80s to make porn. So you can understand that everybody in this society lives his own nightmare. Not consciously, because the most people cannot remember why they start with porn. At first it was curiosity and being horny, and then it was addiction. And an easy way to release. And of course you can see naked bodies too. And you have to understand, it is a downward spiral. And you have to understand that there's a lot of frustration and resignation in this porn industry. I mean, for you. Because you don't have a connection, an intimate connection with women. Because this all is a fake connection. A delusion, an illusion, a matrix that you cannot consciously understand if you're not aware of what's psychologically doing with you and emotionally. There's no real physical connection. That's all fake emotions, what got produced for you to be addicted in your own dream or delusion, imagination. So there's nothing for you. No tits, no pussy, or no dick for woman. Yeah, there's nothing. Only you. To reject woman or reject man. To have an easy quick fix if you're frustrated at work, with friends, family, some girls. The easy quick fix that leads you into your own self-hate and rejecting, denying intimate connection with woman or man. That is a heavy topic because it brings up a lot of emotions, frustration, anger, self-hate, rejection, feeling rejected, abandoned, not feeling good enough, left alone, ostracized, or apathy and numbness. All sorts of categories. People tend to take everything serious. There's no playing anymore with women. There's no bantering, flirting, nagging, all sorts of things what people normally do. Even touching, That's the most important thing. Connection, physically. And this loneliness gets through all layers of society. Sex sells. Look at the society. You know, nobody these days would make a movie like The Naked Gun with Leslie Nielsen. Okay, we have Deadpool, yeah. Yes, of course. With Ryan Reynolds. But this porn shit, I wanna say, leads to don't feel good enough as a woman or as a man. And if I watch or look at myself, I mean, have to say that I have to release a lot of old emotional topics to being myself again, you know. On this unfulfilled expectation what porn, thanks for listening, project was a little bit long. And of course but in myself too. Maybe until next time. There's a lot of anxiety there. And this is not conscious. So if you don't teach your children sexuality, well, some other medium will do it. So you can make an experiment, you know. You're watching porn without masturbating, you know. I mean, I guess the problem is masturbating, because then you're fixed on something that's not real on the screen. And you can ask yourself, what is this? What's on the screen is what I don't have. Something that is missing that I don't want to connect with a woman, or from a woman as a man to a man. Or do I feel rejected from this woman on the screen? Or what porn are you interested in? How much extreme has it to be to get turned on? Does she look on the camera? Or does she look onto the camera guy? Why are you addicted to masturbate on porn? What is the thing that you're avoiding, rejecting with the opposite sex? Or your own sex? So I guess this is all what I have.